Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network. Thank you, gentlemen.
Soto, high in the air, deep center. See you later. And now, 9 of his last 12 hits, extra bases. Soto brings in 2, and the Nats lead by 5.
Slider, slider, cutter, slider. Let's try the four-seam up top, and this one...
Recording in progress.
And he just stays on it, and it's a beautiful thing.
And Cruz goes out that way. See you later. This back-to-back thing is becoming pretty regular.
Love to see it. What's your adjustment? We're going to go cutter. Okay. Leave it over the plate. And Nelly just hammers it. Oh, Nelly. First one against the fastball, against the lefty. Oh.
Josh Bell to left. See you back to back to back.
Nelly, you tied me. I'm not letting it happen. He retakes the RBI lead. Curveball hanging top of the zone.
That's right. It's Tuesday night, Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, CP3 and RobbieG coming to you live. True Radio Network as always. Oh man, I got technical issues. If you've been following me lately, you know I've been having some stuff going on. You know how it is with live broadcasts. It's always something. But we coming to you on Tuesday night because we had a great finals matchup last night in Game 5 that I'm sure the NBA Roundtable is going to have a good time breaking down. I actually watched some of the game myself. So, you know, I was, I'm a Golden State fan. So I was watching this pivotal Game 5, and I can't wait to hear what these guys have to say about this matchup and to see if they're going to be able to close out in Game 6 or if it's going to go all the way to Game 7. We also going to talk some Nationals first, as always. Currently, they're down 9-3 versus the Braves in the top of the 6. They've just been continuing to give up home runs, and that's been the issue with this team. We're going to talk about a little bit this first half hour, then we'll get into the NHL portion of the show, previewing the Stanley Cup Finals, which start tomorrow night. Then we'll get into the NBA Roundtable, and we'll finish up with the Mystics, which are just in the game right now, trying to get a score. They have a live game versus Phoenix, who actually they lost the one game. They had a 2-on-1 week, but we'll break all of that down towards the end of the show. And look like we're about to watch the Seattle-Minnesota game, so the Mystics game is over. I have to get you a score and update on that, but we'll break that down towards the end of the show. But as always, like to thank RobbieG in the Man Cave. How you doing tonight, good sir?
I am doing well. Sorry, some technical glitches on all of our ends. The Twitch stream started a little later than I thought. It's okay, and the Facebook started later, so you know, it's just one of those days, right? It's a Tuesday. It's not a normal stream day for us, but it is the last show that I am doing with you until September, Carol. But I'm excited for it. We've got a lot to break down. I brought out some old merch, Carol. Do you see what I got behind me? This is the first shirt that you ever gave me. Remember the
Yeah, I still got my first one way back.
Yeah, so this is, I figured we're talking Nationals, so I put this out there. It's our customized Nats one that had all the original teams that we covered and the original logo from, I think that's like season 1 or 2. So, you know, old school. So I thought I'd bring that out today just as a memory keepsake. I was like, oh man, I forgot about that. But yeah, Nats had a bit of a rough week, 2-5. The NBA Finals had three really exciting games, so I'm excited to bring that down with the round table. We have Davey, who's from Eating a Sandwich Show, is going to come on. He's actually going to raid into our channel here on Twitch and then be a part of the round table as well. And then Carol, me, and Brian will talk a little bit of hockey. And he'll join us for that. Brian will break down the unfortunate end of the Rangers season, and then Davey, Carol, and myself will preview a very exciting Stanley Cup final, and then Carol and I will talk a little Mystics to end the show. So we've got a busy show tonight, but I'm going to bring in Brian Brennan in right now, and then I'll let you guys talk about some Nationals. How are you doing today, Brian?
What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you guys break down the unfortunate week for the Nationals, and then obviously a Yankees update, since Brian is a Yankees fan and they are doing very well for the most part, and playing a team that had some pretty rough outings for sure. But I'll let you guys start to break that down, and then I'll come back in for some NBA talk.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I got the score. The Mystics pretty well handled the Phoenix tonight. They took the loss to them to end the week, and they started the week out very well. So I give some scoring. And on that game, it was a very impressive victory by the Mystics. I'm actually watching the Seattle, Minnesota game right now, along with the Nationals game. But Brian, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Carol. I'm watching the Yankees right now. And like pretty much every game this season, they're winning. So I'm in a good mood. They're up 2-0 right now on the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I remember those days. You know, a lot of the National fans are really upset at the way, you know, the season is going and everything. And I get it. You know, I get the, you know, being what we're now 17 games under 500, about to be 18. And, you know, you get tired of seeing the, you know, errors and the pitchers giving up home runs left and right. And, you know, just the inconsistencies. And then you'll see they put up 11 runs and 19 hits in one game. And, you know, the pitching does what it's supposed to do. So I get the frustration, but, you know, it's unfortunate, you know, the team couldn't stay on top and maintain the World Series caliber that they were that season. But it was hard to duplicate what they did that season. And unfortunately, you know, being where they are right now, the fans, you know, they want that feeling again, but unfortunately, it's not coming right now. I mean, like I said, you see some flashes, but unfortunately, like you said, you see the same inconsistencies with the errors and the lack of consistency in the pitching from the starters. Then the bullpen will be on point, but the next thing you know, they're giving up leads. Tanner Rainey, you know, I'm still not really sold on him being a closer, but, you know, he's been effective for the most part, but he's, you know, blown some saves and given us some opportunities when this team, you know, could have used the victory. But, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Brian, I know you've been watching your Yankees on the other side of the spectrum, but at this team, what have you seen? What is your interpretation, observation of this team right now?
Yeah, like I said, when they made the trades last summer, I really felt like this was going to be a bit of a long rebuilding process for the Nationals. I think there are some pieces there. Obviously, I wasn't on with you when you talked about baseball last week. You guys broke up the show into two segments, but I will say, I think one player who's really impressed me for the Nats lately, and we'll talk about him a little bit this week too, has been Keibert Ruiz, the catcher. I didn't get a chance to talk about that play he made at the end of the game in Cincinnati to nail the runner at first base. That was a really great play. That's like the play that only you see like experienced catchers make. And he's only a kid. I mean, there are pieces here. There's definitely pieces here, but I get the frustration. I'm sure as Nats fans, you've got to be frustrated because, you know, you won the World Series in 2019, and because of COVID, the pandemic and everything, you didn't really get a chance to celebrate that championship, really, and now all the players from that team are gone. You're starting from square one again. And, yeah, it's rough. Even when Steven Strasburg comes back, he goes right back on the IL. I'm sure it's very frustrating. Carol.
Yeah, with the Strasburg thing, I see a lot of people upset. I mean, that's the one thing I love about having a show, because I talked about this way back that they said with his throwing motion that eventually it would probably cause some issues later in his career. That's why a few years ago he stopped throwing from the stretch. That helped him alleviate some of that because with the velocity that he throws and his height and the motion that he uses, they said it was, it was only a matter of time before he would have issues. He had the Tommy Johns early in his career, and he, went on the run for the, postseason, doing what he did, and he hasn't been able to get back. We're hopeful. I'm hopeful that he can get back into. I'm not looking for that postseason form every season, but hopefully he can get back into the dominating fashion of what we've got accustomed to him doing. Because I was actually, off today and I was looking at some old, you got to reminisce about the good times when you're going through the bad times. I was actually rewatching his debut game when he had the 14 strikeouts against Pittsburgh. I don't know what made me watch it. I guess it was after the news came he was going on the IL. But, I mean, unfortunately, he's having some issues. A lot of folks complaining about the contract, and maybe they should have re-signed Rendon and let him.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, if you could go back to that offseason after they won the World Series and you had the opportunity to sign either Strasburg again or re-sign Rendon, which one would you take? I know you love Rendon. Which one would you take? Looking back now.
See, now knowing that Max is gone, because the key pick right now is pitching. I mean, I still would have probably went with Strasburg because, pitching is, what this team was known for and what this team linked on and what got them the championship. I would have loved to keep Rendon. They were talking about, how good, Kai Boone was, so that he would be able to play third. So I figured, okay, we got somebody that, at least has some potential. Not saying he's going to be the quality that Rendon is, but at least there's something that they can, turn into something, make him a decent third baseman. As long as he's, playing solid defense, he doesn't have to score or, hit or get, runs batted in like Rendon. As long as he's serviceable and he doesn't cost us games, I can see it. But I wouldn't do no. I know many other people would, but I wouldn't, because that run that Strasburg went on, that was historic.
Yeah, iconic.
And you also know how I love players that a team drafts, they develop, and they get to the, the pinnacle of success. I like to keep those guys because, you want to build that foundation with the organization, especially like with Zimmerman. That's why, it's ironic that his weekend, they're celebrating him at the park and they're playing, this bad. But, hopefully that'll give him a spark this weekend. We saw what they did last weekend against Milwaukee. I was hoping they were going to get the sweep, but they won 2 out of 3. But the first 2 games, they looked like a whole different team, scoring. The, pitching was quality. They had solid defense. And it was, it felt good to be a Nats fan that day, those 2 days. But, it's just the, ups and downs of baseball. I know I'm not, a longtime baseball watcher or fan like most of the, Nats fans are. But you got to take the good with the bad. We hit the pinnacle of success, and unfortunately, because of outside things that, were out of the team's control, revenue and stuff like that, they couldn't keep some of the players that they wanted to keep. And I hated to see Trey, Mad Max. I hated to see them get traded, especially to the Dodgers. That's still, and now Max is in the Mets. I just saw something come across, and he's doing a simulated bullpen session that he's also hurt. So, these pitchers, that's one of the things, that's one I want to ask you about, Brian. Because I know they do have a pitch count and everything, but they don't take into account the warm-up pitches, the pitches in between innings, and everything that goes into it. The work that these pitchers do from spring training until the end of the year, how much they use their arm and how they have to stay healthy and stay on a workout regimen and, do everything to, try to stay as healthy as they can. These pitchers put a lot of work and a lot of grunt on their bodies throughout a long baseball season. So do you notice that also, Brian, or how do you feel about some of these pitchers? I don't think people appreciate, because they know they only play every 5 days. They're not out in the field all the time. But I don't know how their arms last through their careers with how much they throw on a daily basis, even when they're not pitching in the game.
It's why you see so many guys go down with Tommy John surgery. It's why you see so many guys have season-ending injuries like that. Like they throw so hard, and it just wears on your arm like that. And it's almost impossible at this point. It feels like almost every pitcher goes through Tommy John surgery at least once in their career now. It happens very frequently in Major League Baseball. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said about like what you said about Strasburg, maybe throwing too hard, maybe throwing from the stretch too much. I think there's definitely something to be said that could definitely explain why he's had so many injuries in his career. But you're right. There's definitely a trend with pitchers getting hurt, a lot of arm injuries, a lot of Tommy John. It's definitely a problem. It's definitely a risky position, especially if you're throwing 100 miles an hour all night. Really, if you're putting your arm in serious jeopardy like that.
Yeah, folks don't appreciate the stress they're putting on their body. They just look at all their millionaires and they get to play a game for a living and all of that. But yeah, the physical toll that it takes on their bodies from living that lifestyle and doing that, in the long run, we'll see how that pans out for some of these guys. But all right, let's get off that. I just had a baseball moment. I know we have a lot of stuff to go over, and you guys got to break down the NHL and NBA. So let me go ahead and recap the week that was, and still 9-3. Bottom of the sixth, they had the bases loaded. Looked like they just scored a run. Garcia with an RBI single, making it 9-4 with 2 outs in the bottom of the sixth. Last week there was a 2-4 week. They got swept by the Marlins again, which I still think. I'm remembering the times when we used to beat the Marlins senseless all the time, and now it has been reversed, and it really sucks to see this. They got swept by the Marlins, and they won 2 out of 3 versus the Brewers. They're currently sitting at 23-40, looking like it's going to be 23-41. Excuse me. They're 5-5 in their last 10. The first game of the Miami series was a 12-2 loss. They were down 12-0 before they scored their first run. So that and Chisholm, is that the game Chisholm had 2 home? Yeah, Chisholm.
He had a grand slam and 2 home runs.
Slam. So yeah, that game got out of hand pretty early. Edward Cabrera earned the victory for the Marlins. I put him at 2-0. He went 6 innings, giving up 2 hits, 1 run with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Joan Andone fell to 1-10. He only lasted 3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 8 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Top of the 6th, Garcia hit a solo home run. And the top of the 8th, Nelson Cruz had an RBI double. Second game was a 2-1 loss in extra innings in the 10th inning. The Nats played this game pretty well. It was 0-0 going into the extra innings, and the Nats got a run. I was hoping it would hold on, and Tanner Rainey came in and pretty much didn't do his job. But let's see, Tanner Scott earned the victory for Miami. He went to 2-1. He went 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, 1 run, not earned. Because I thought they got rid of the man on second in the extra.
No, they didn't. So I thought they were going. I thought everybody thought they were going to get rid of it this year, but then they kind of made a last-minute decision and they kept it. And it's still here. It's still here.
Yeah, it threw me off because I thought they got rid of it last time we spoke, and I saw he was on second. I was like, how the hell did he get on second? I said,
Nope, it's still here.
How can you hate that rule, but you love universal DH, man? Come on, man.
Man, why automatic runners? That's not baseball. That's not start putting an automatic base runner on second. That's not baseball. Like, give them a chance. Like, I don't know. I would kind of be okay with it if it didn't start right away. Mm-hmm. Like, if they waited a couple innings, like maybe if they waited to like the 12th, 13th inning, and like game's going a little long, I would be okay with them maybe doing it then. But to start it right away in the 10th inning, I think it's stupid. I'm unfortunately, as a Yankees fan, they've been involved in way too many extra inning games this year, and so I've had to see it quite a bit. And luckily, they've won a lot of those games, but still, it's just I'm not a fan of this rule. And hopefully, common sense prevails, they get rid of it next year.
All right. Well, this was one of those games, and
Yep.
Ruiz got an RBI single scoring a run for the Nats, and unfortunately, Tanner Rainey, to me, it looked like he was overthrowing the ball because he wasn't locating at all. And then when he did get into the strike zone, it was, the ball was getting roped into the outfield. He only got one out, lasted a third of the inning, gave him 2 hits, 2 runs, one of those earned with no strikeouts and no walks. And the last game of the series, which was Strasburg's return, a lot of folks were upset wanting him to return at home, yada, yada, yada. But nonetheless, it was a 7-4 loss. Trevor Rogers earned his 3rd victory. That put him at 3-5. He went 3 innings, giving up 6 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Strasburg falls to 0-1. He went 4 2/3, giving up 8 hits, 7 runs with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Tanner Scott earned his 3rd save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs with 2 strikeouts and no walks. Top of the 5th, Soto had a 2-run RBI single. In the top of the 7th, Lane Thomas had a 2-run RBI double to account for the Nats' 4 runs. They said they got swept by the Marlins for the 2nd time this season. And, excuse me, it doesn't feel good to be at the bottom of the division. I used to clown the Marlins all the time, being in last place and finding ways to lose against the Nationals. And it kind of sucks being on the other side of it. Brian, what do you think about this kid Chisholm? I mean, he's cool. I like his, on the field, but I feel like some of these guys and some of these teams are getting a little bit too flamboyant. Like I'm watching the Braves game, they hitting home runs. Last game they hit a couple of home runs, and their celebrations is like, I'm like, okay, all right. And I want the Nats to get that to fuel them to play better, but unfortunately it doesn't. And it makes you, as a fan, I don't know how, I didn't play baseball, that much, but as a baseball guy, how pissed off does that make you to see the team that you're, losing to, they're getting the, upper hand on you, and then they're also, doing celebrations and high-fiving and pointing to the stands and all of that stuff.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned Chisholm because I think he's a really good player. I'm a big Jazz Chisholm fan, and right before this series against the Nationals, the Marlins actually had a team meeting, and Chisholm was actually singled out by a lot of his teammates they actually described him, apparently some of the players described him as kind of being like Dennis Rodman, which I didn't see coming.
Wow.
But I've always thought Jazz Chisholm's a great player. I like that flash, that little style he brings to the game. When Derek Jeter was involved with the Marlins, he actually singled out Chisholm as one of his favorite players on the team. So, I mean, if he's good enough for Derek Jeter, he's good enough for me. I'm okay with I feel like the celebrations and stuff. I mean, we saw it with the Nats in 2019. They had a ton of celebrations and stuff in the dugout. I mean, remember Howie Kendrick and Adam Eaton doing that?
In the dugout is one thing. I'm speaking on the third base coach is almost at home plate giving high fives as he's crossing the plate. I mean, in the dugout is one thing. I'm talking about on the field stuff.
You mean like pointing up to God, like all that stuff? Like all
no, I mean, I don't know. I know you're an AL guy, but just watch the Braves. Like, I haven't watched this. Is the first time I've watched them in a series, and they hit like 4 home runs, and all of them got like different dances, and the third base coach is all the way down almost by home plate giving high fives and giving dap. I'm like, okay, I get it. You guys are playing well, but all of this celebration, especially is on the road, that's when you get thrown at. That's all I'm saying. It pisses another team off, especially, you're the World Series champs. They're on the bottom. You're surging, trying to get back to the top. And then, all this extracurricular, dancing and all that. I'm like, really? But they talk about Juan Soto shuffle in the box when he's at the plate. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thing.
No, I get what you're saying. I can see why that would definitely be frustrating if your team's losing all the time. I know, for example, the Yankees, when they hit walk-off home runs, they always tend to hit the gritty, and I'm sure that pisses off a lot of teams when they do that. But I don't know. I think if you're good enough, you've earned the right to celebrate. The players on the Braves, like Acuna, I'm sure we're going to talk about him in a minute. he's a beast. I mean, I think he's earned the right to celebrate a little bit. I mean, even LeBron James was talking about Acuna's celebrations and how like cool they were. So I don't know. I think if you're good enough, and I like going back to Chisholm. I love Chisholm. I think Chisholm's a great player, and I think he's got the right to be a little flashy because he's good, in my opinion.
Yeah, it might just be the old school in me. You know, when I play, you show off on the field, we knock you on your butt the next play. So that just might be the old school in me. You know, I feel like you show me up, I got to show you what's really going on. But that just might be the old school in me. Let's get it to the good of the week for the Nationals. They won 2 out of 3 versus Milwaukee, who was on, I believe, a 12-game after 10-game losing streak coming in. And the first,
7, I think, actually. 7.
7, okay, yeah. They were, in the tailspin. They were still second in the Central, but, it was good for the Nats to win some games against, a team above 500, even though they aren't. And first game was an 11-5 win. Eric Fetty had one of his better starts of the season. I put him at 4-4. He went 5 2/3, giving up 4 hits, 3 runs with 4 strikeouts and 3 walks. Aaron Ashby took the loss for Milwaukee. That dropped him to 1-5. He went 4 2/3, giving up 13 hits, 6 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 1 walk. And bottom of the first, Nelson Cruz had an RBI single. In the bottom of the third, Soto had a fielder's choice that scored a run. Cruz came up next and had an RBI single. The bottom of the fourth, Mikael Franco had a solo home run, and Soto had an RBI single. Bottom of the fifth, Luis Garcia had a RBI single, and the bottom of the sixth, Josh Bell hit a 2-run home run. And Ruiz had a solo home run also, and in the eighth, Nelson Cruz hit a solo home run to account for the 11 runs by the Nats. And as I say, they showed you flashes of that. I think they had like 16 hits that, 19 hits that.
19, yeah.
11 runs. I mean, that's when, you remember, 2019, and, no matter who you put out there, this team would, find a way to get the runs and, find a way to win. So, yeah, it is frustrating not to see that every night, but it does feel good to see it sometimes. The second game of the series was an 8-6 win. Patrick Corbin earned his 3rd victory, 2nd in a row. He's now 3-8. He went 6 innings, giving up 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Eric Lauer took the loss. That dropped him to 5-2. He went 5 innings, giving up 7 hits, 8 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 4 walks. Bottom of the third, Soto had a bases-loaded walk that got in a run. Then Nelson Cruz followed up with a 2-run RBI double, and Josh Bell cleaned it up with a sacrifice fly, spawned another run. In the bottom of the fifth, if you saw the beginning of the show with the video before, they hit back-to-back home runs in the bottom of the fifth, starting off with Juan Soto with a 2-run home run, and Nelson Cruz with a solo shot, and then Josh Bell with another solo shot to follow that up. And that pretty much accounted for all the Nats scoring. They won 8-6. Brewers got some runs late, made it close, but the Nats were able to hold on. And they were going for the sweep, and unfortunately, they came up a little short. They lost the game 4-1. Hobie Milner earned the victory. I put him at 3-1. He went in the third, giving up a hit, no runs with a strikeout and no walks. Pablo Espino earned his first loss of the season. He's been in the bullpen, was doing very well in the bullpen, but due to the starter issues, he was put into the starter role. He went 3 2/3, giving up 4 hits, 1 run with 2 strikeouts and no walks. Josh Hader earned his 19th save of the season. He went 1 inning, striking out the side. And Josh Bell had a sacrifice fly in the bottom of the fifth to account for the lone Nats run. This week, the Nats have 8 games, which is kind of funny because they have 5 games versus the Phillies. They have a doubleheader on Thursday, and they have a 3-game series with the Braves.
That's so crazy. They have 8 games. You're going to be very busy next week. It's kind of good that you get to recap the Monday game and part of this Tuesday game this week, so you have less you have to talk about next week, you know?
Yeah,
Only 6 games next week.
Yeah, I didn't even really
Exactly.
go into the first game of this series. I know we ran a little bit long talking some other stuff, so I get it.
It's cool. I'm in the chat of the guy who's rating us to talk the next segment, so it's great. I'm multitasking. So
right, cool,
I let him
cool.
know we're running late, so we're good.
All right, so yeah, the Braves, they have the game tonight, 7:05. They're currently down 9-4. 7:05 start tomorrow and a 7:05 start on Wednesday. Then the Phillies come to town for, as I say, 5 and a 4-game stretch. Thursday, they have a 7:05 start. Friday, there's a doubleheader, a 1:05 start, and then a 7:05 start. Saturday is a 4:35 start, and Sunday is a 12:05 start. And I believe I saw that's only available streaming on some channel. I can't remember which one. So if you're looking for the game and can't find it, that's probably why. I've had that issue a few times. But Brian, what do you think about this upcoming 8-game schedule? Can the Nats break 500 on this season?
Well, I mean, we've seen these first 2 games against the Braves. I guess it's not really fair because the Braves are red hot right now. It looks like they're about to win their 13th straight game. But they've really looked good these first 2 games against the Nationals this week. And the Phillies, just talking about that 5-game series, looking ahead, it is Ryan Zimmerman weekend. Shout out to Ryan Zimmerman, Mr. National. He's getting his number retired. That's pretty exciting. But the Phillies are also playing a lot better right now. They fired Joe Girardi, and instead they replaced him with Rob Thompson, who actually used to be the Yankees bench coach when Girardi was the manager of the Yankees. Now he's the Phillies manager because Joe Girardi got fired. And he won his first 9 games as manager of the Phillies. But he, I believe he's lost a game since then. But still a great start to his managerial career with the Phillies. The Mets still have a pretty significant lead in this division, but like Atlanta and Philly are playing great lately. Unfortunately, these are the 2 hottest teams in the NL right now, and the Nats have to play them. And yeah, Tim just mentioned it in the Zoom chat. The Sunday game is on Peacock, which is NBC's streaming app. The Yankees were actually on Peacock. They have exclusive Sunday morning baseball, and the Yankees were actually on Peacock 2 weeks ago. The game started at 11:35, so this game's a little bit later than when the Yankee game started. This game's starting at 12:05, but yeah, that Sunday game is on Peacock. I thought their coverage was pretty good, so if you do have Peacock, definitely check it out. I actually thought their coverage of the Yankee game a couple of weeks ago was really good. But yeah, this is going to be a tough week for the Nationals. 2 red-hot teams right now. We've already seen the Braves have kind of come in here and just pretty much dominated these first 2 nights. And we'll see how it goes against the Phillies. They're playing great ball too right now.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle. Unfortunately, like I said, the Nats are where they are. You know, it's the rebuilding process. Unfortunately, we have to go through it. Hopefully, we don't get back to those 100-loss seasons because that really sucked. But all we can do is just try to stay positive, and hopefully something can bring it all together and they start playing better and at least get close to 500 for the season. Because, yeah, I don't like being this far under 500. It doesn't make it fun watching baseball anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, well, that's pretty much all I have for the Nats coverage. I'll let you guys get ready to transition over into the hockey. I've been watching a little bit. I've been watching a lot, so I know Brian, you know, with the Rangers on their run to the, you know, trying to make it. I was conflicted in the Eastern Conference. I honestly didn't care who won. I'm rooting for Colorado, so definitely now the Tampa's in the finals with them trying to three-peat. I definitely don't want them to win. So I gotta say I'm a Colorado fan, even though Andre's still out there might get a second ring and shit.
Yeah. All right. So should we switch gears? What do you want to do?
Man, go ahead and if Davey's ready to come in, we can get the hockey segment started. I already switched my graphics, so we're ready to rock.
Sounds good. All right. I will switch gears. Thank you guys for the baseball update. I've been watching a little of this Nats game. You know, it's pretty bad that they're down 9-4. There wasn't a lot that I wanted to give you a positive scoring update, and it didn't really. They got out of the inning, which I guess was the positive update. Yeah, so they're at the bottom of the 7th now. But let's bring in Tim real quick and Arun. And I see that Davey is joining as well. So we'll start off with Tim. Let me just switch over my graphics over here.
How's it going, fellas?
How are you doing today?
Good to see you.
Tim, I think, how are the Orioles doing tonight?
They're beating the Blue Jays 6-4 in the 8th inning, so we'll see. The Jays are pretty good, so.
And Tampa Bay was losing to the Yankees, right, Brian?
Yeah, it's still 2-0 in the 8th inning. Yeah.
Cool.
If you want to watch that game instead of the crappy Nationals game, it's on CBS.
Hey.
That is a pretty good.
You ain't got to throw crappy in there, Brian. We already know it's bad enough.
He had to get that shot in there.
Yeah.
He had to just throw the dirt on, just had some salt in the wound, huh, man? All right.
He didn't realize that CP3 hadn't left yet.
I hear on and see all, damn it.
But it might be a good thing to have on my third screen, so I will take that up maybe a little bit later. Arun, I also see that you're joining us. How are you doing tonight, Arun?
Not bad. I was trying to change my background, but I couldn't get it done in time.
It's okay. I mean, the dog is a staple at this point. I come to expect it, so it's nice to have you on. And then Davey from Davey is Eating a Sandwich Show. Who was just rated into our show, so it's very meta. He rated into the Zoom call. I think that he's on right now. If he is, he can turn on his camera and mic. If not, he might be taking a restroom break, and he'll join us in just a second. But Davey, whenever you get back, feel free to turn on your camera. And so we've got 3 games to break down. Let me see if I can get this to work correctly on my screen. There's always a lot of different things that goes. Basically, Twitch reset every one of my settings before the stream, which is always really helpful. So I really appreciate that. But I think that should work now. So, all right. So we'll do that. We'll exit out of here. And then I will resize this there. All right. Awesome. All right. So let me get the NBA finals. Get the series up here. When we last left off the series, it was 1-1. It was very exciting. We had a good show about it last week. And I kind of thought that it might be 2-2, in the next one as well. It kind of, I don't know, it was an interesting series. I don't know if we should, I think we should just break down each game. So the series was tied 1-1 when we last left off. The Celtics won the next game 116-100. They started off very strong. It was a pretty even second quarter. Then in the third quarter, the Golden State Warriors, as they've been doing this whole series, took off, outscored them 33-25. But the Boston Celtics really clamped down on defense in the fourth quarter and only allowed Golden State to score 11 points, and the Celtics scored 23. So I'll start off with Brian. What was your thoughts on this game 3?
Oh yeah, you mentioned the great defense in the fourth quarter from the Celtics. That was really the difference in this game. I thought they got a pretty good team effort all around in this game. I thought Marcus Smart played a really good game. I thought for the Celtics he had 24 points. 7 rebounds as well. He was really good, especially defensively. One of the big stories this game was how bad Draymond Green was. Draymond Green was, this was probably one of the worst performances of his career. Even his own mother went on Twitter and said he was playing really badly in this game, which I thought was kind of funny. But Draymond Green was really not good. Just looking at the stats, he had 2 points. He was 1 of 4 shooting. He fouled out. I believe at one point in this series, I remember they showed this graphic. I can't remember if it was in this game or it was in game 4. Draymond Green had 15 points in the series and 17 fouls. So he was really bad. The crowd in Boston was really on him in this whole game. They've really been on him this whole series, but they were especially in this game, I thought. The Warriors were a little annoyed by that. They definitely seemed a little pissed off by the crowd in Boston in this game. Maybe that motivated them in the next game. But yeah, Draymond was bad, but a great defensive effort from the Celtics in the fourth quarter to only hold them to 11 points. And they get the win in game 3.
And I want to welcome in Davey, who's now officially on the show after rating in. I appreciate you joining us. Davey, how are you doing tonight?
No, doing well. Just hanging out, just doing some gaming, just class gaming, good times. Yeah, how are you all? It's nice to see you all again.
It's good. We're doing well. I appreciate you for joining in on the show. And one of the benefits of us moving one night forward is that you're able to join us. And Joy Avner is joining our chat for the first time. I appreciate you, my friend. You're a win in Game 3. So, yeah, it's a really exciting win for Game 3 for sure. I'm excited Joy, that you're here. Feel free to give your thoughts on this as well. And I see I have an emoji wall, so something just happened to my chat, but I just missed it. But Davey, I'm excited that you're here. What were some of your thoughts on Game 3?
Yeah, that was a really ugly fourth quarter, wasn't it? Like, that was just nuts. Like, it's so interesting how you can have swings within the game, and I mean, just echoing what everybody else with the defense. Like, it was insane. Like, and it kind of worked out both ways, but in this game, it definitely worked in the home team's favor. It's just surprising that could happen, because it was like a 5-point game or less, like the other 3 quarters. So you kind of blink and it just happens. But 11 points, I mean, that's rough. Like, it was being rough. I'm sure we'll get to the other games later, but I'll have comments on those too. But yeah, great win for the Celtics at that point. And you thought maybe they were going to take control of the series, but then, well, I'll let you take it there.
Yeah, well, I'll get everybody's thoughts on Game 3. I'll go to Tim next and get his take.
Yeah, I think obviously the fourth quarter doomed the Warriors in this one, but just in general, they play really small, especially when Draymond is bad, and he had a terrible game, like Brian said. The Celtics vastly out-rebounded the Warriors in this game. I think players like Robert Williams have a huge advantage inside. There were a lot of plays in Game 3 where he just bullied Draymond. There were a lot of jokes and memes online that Draymond was basically like on his ass the whole game because he was just falling down and getting physically dominated by a younger guy. Williams is definitely an X factor too, because he's been hurt most of the playoffs and is still not 100%. And I think if he was 100% healthy, the Celtics might be leading the series right now. So Boston got a little bit unlucky with him, but he really shined in this game and led them in rebounds. And the Celtics just were really balanced. And I think the Warriors, they always play great in the third quarter, but they had a bad trend really until last game of getting outplayed in the fourth quarter. So it was kind of bad that the Celtics fans were chanting "F you, Draymond," but they're not very classy up there. So, but it was a good game till the end.
Yep, sounds good. And Arun, your final takeaways from Game 3.
Yeah, the Celtics winning in this spot is not that surprising given that they haven't lost consecutive games throughout the playoffs. But the Warriors didn't really get off to a good start. They were already down by double figures after the first quarter. And yeah, they had a great third quarter, but I think, as everyone alluded to, that fourth quarter, it looked like they ran out of gas because they had to cover up so much ground. And giving up 116 points, that's probably way too much, especially given how good the Celtics defense has been. Draymond, Clay were not really good in this game. Neither was Looney. But overall, just the win and the stat that came from this game, the winner of Game 3 went on to win 82% of the time, but we'll see how that plays out going forward.
Right. You got to imagine that there's the other side of that statistical category. So it eventually has to even itself out a little bit. But I didn't expect it to go south this quickly, but I'm not surprised. I do think, going forward, I'd be surprised if Boston doesn't win the next game. But, we'll see how it shakes out. It does seem like officiating might be playing a role at times, what is called and what's not with the contact, which happens a lot in the NBA, but it's that they want this to go 7. So they're going to try everything they can to do that in my mind. But Davey, what are your thoughts?
are we going back to game 2?
Well, no. Oh, sorry. I clicked the wrong game. I'm going to go back to, it was game 4.
Oh, yeah. This was the one that got away from Boston. And, it got away because Steph was just on fire. 43 points. I mean, it was an amazing performance. And in between that game and we're going to I guess we'll get to game 5 too. But it was kind of like a very interesting moment for me watching the series because the whole time I really thought that the Celtics had control of the series until that game. And we were like 3/4 of the way through the game before I really felt like the Warriors started to have something here. And but Steph was just not going to let that game. Just not going to let them lose that game. And that special quality that you have, the type A quality, the I'm not going to let the team lose the game quality. He didn't have that all the time. And when he does have it, when he's on like that, ain't nobody stopping him. He was hitting shots from like 35 feet, which he does a lot. But this is a huge game to be doing that. They're down 2-1 in the series, and they're about to get. This series would have been over if they didn't win. And it's a remarkable win for Golden State. That was definitely a turning point for me. I don't know, what did you all think, fellas?
Yeah. So I'll start. I'll go around the circle. I'll go to Brian next. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah. Steph was amazing in this game. The 43 points is probably the best finals game he's ever had. I know it's been a storyline for a really long time that Steph's never won a finals MVP. And I guess we'll see if he wins it this year. But this performance was obviously a huge step forward for that. He was great. There's really not much more you can say about it. I mean, Dwayne Wade made a really good point on Twitter. He said that we need to stop talking about what Steph doesn't do, and we need to be talking about what he does. Because what he does, like nobody's ever done in league history before. He's amazing. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. But I would like to point out 2 other things from this game. Steve Kerr made the lineup change going into this game. He took Kevon Looney out of the starting lineup, and he put former Wizard Otto Porter in the starting lineup. Now, Porter didn't necessarily have a great offensive game, but I think Looney, settled better into a bench role. He had 11 rebounds coming off the bench for the Warriors in this game. I feel like a lot of the pressure was off for him coming off the bench, and I think that was a good lineup decision for Steve Kerr going into this game. And Andrew Wiggins, we're going to talk about game 5 next and how Brady was in that game too. But Andrew Wiggins was really great in this game too. He had 17 points and 16 rebounds, which was actually a career high, the most he's ever had in any game at any point in his NBA career. So Wiggins deserves a lot of credit for this victory for Golden State too. Draymond, again, not great offensively, but he had some big rebounds. He had some big assists down the stretch for the Warriors. It was nice, maybe not scoring-wise, nice bounce-back game for him. And, as much credit as you can give to Steph, you have to give credit to those guys, too. They all stepped up in their own way.
And what do you have to add?
I would just say the media really focused after this game how the Warriors didn't have enough secondary scoring. And I think it's true. I mean, the team did a lot around Steph to dominate the second half and make up a deficit from halftime and come back and win. But it is true. I mean, players like Klay Thompson just haven't scored a ton in this finals, haven't shot very well. Obviously Steph kind of pulled this out individually, but I think if the Warriors hadn't come back and won this, this game, they would have had a lot of kind of inside team turmoil because I think Draymond getting benched. And then if they had lost, that would have really messed with the team psychologically. And I do think Boston probably would have just, 1-5. I don't think you can come back from that. So Kerr made a big, it was a risky move. I think he basically just said, I'm going to do this. If we win, we'll probably win the series and vice versa. And it worked out because they have the best shooter in NBA history on their side. And somehow he made no threes last night, but, the rest of the team scored. So
that's crazy. We'll get to that. That's a crazy stat, too. Dave, you had a comment about the lineup change?
Yeah, Tim, I think making a great point about the move to bench Draymond, especially in the fourth quarter. Honestly, I think that was the difference in the game. He he's been a net negative for almost the entire series. Like, he's just not been as athletic as he used to be. He makes stupid decisions, technical all the time. It's like, I mean, it was a desperation move, but it was the right call, I thought. Like, you ride or die that. Like, if you just try to leave him in the game because, well, maybe he's got something left, I honestly don't think the Warriors come back to win. So, Tim, I think that's a great point.
For sure. And Arun, any final thoughts on this game before we get into last night's game?
Yeah, I think Draymond, he does this thing defensively at 4 steals, but I think arguably this game offensively was worse than even game 3. He had 2 points, but he took even more shots. He had 8 assists, but I think just passing to Steph Curry will get you a lot of assists like that. And Jordan Poole was pretty huge in this game, along with Gary Payton. Playing center, he hasn't gotten that explosiveness, dunking the ball. Maybe he's scared to jump up that high after Dylan Brooks had that dirty play against him, but he's been pretty big. He's actually been bigger than Otto Porter, speaking of former Wizards. But as Brian mentioned, Wiggins pulling down 16 boards and 17 points. He was the second best player. I just want to talk a little bit about the Celtics. 23 shots from Jason Tatum. 8 of 23, only 23 points. His field goal percentage was actually less than Steph Curry's points per game after this game. So he kind of needs to pick it up. He might be playing injured. Whenever the Celtics haven't scored 100 points, they haven't won. So if they can get it together offensively, they can beat the Warriors. But I think the Warriors, even if they were down 3-1, they'd come back before. You're going to have to knock them completely off. And the officials weren't even giving them that many calls in this game. They only shot 15 free throws, and 6 of those at least were just when they were fouling when the game was already over. So it was a very good win for the Warriors in a very high-pressured situation.
For sure. I'll let you have the first crack since I've given you the last crack on the last couple on this game yesterday. I know that you always have a look into some of the stats. I thought it was a really close game for the most part. I mean, I know Golden State went up early and looked really bad for Boston. Boston's kind of stayed in it for a long time, and they never led really, but they were able to get close. But at the end, the Warriors were able to kind of hold them at bay. But Arun, what are some of your thoughts on yesterday's game?
The Warriors really took a commanding lead in the first half, but the Celtics did actually take a lead in the midway through the third quarter. I believe it was 5 or 6 points, but the Warriors made a nice set of plays. Jordan Poole made an incredible 3-point shot to close out the quarter, his second buzzer-beating half-court 3 in the third quarter, the other one in game 2, and this one was probably
Wasn't the Celtics at some point have 7 or 8 threes in a row?
Yeah, they had 8 threes in a row in the third quarter, and that really looked like the Celtics were going to take maybe the Warriors, especially Steph Curry. He shot 9 threes. He didn't make a single one, and it's the first time in his playoff career where he hasn't made a single 3-point shot. I think they tried to get him a 3-point shot just in the closing couple of minutes of the game, but then the game was already out of hand. So, and
that's crazy though. Since 2018, he has,
and that was in the regular season, and then the playoffs.
And playoffs combined. And he had never, I heard, in the playoffs in his career, ever had a game without a 3-pointer in the playoffs, which is a crazy stat that I just can't believe. But I agree. I thought Boston was going to storm back. It was kind of a crazy set of circumstances, but Golden State was able to hold on. I'm going to let Tim get the next thoughts on this one.
It's just crazy that Golden State can win a game where Gary Payton Jr. and Wiggins outscored Steph Curry and Thompson together. You would normally say that's terrible and they would get blown out, but it just shows that the Warriors are really deep and, they can have guys go off and score double digits who are normally their 7th or 8th options. And they can win games where their stars struggle and when their stars score 50 plus. So they're just really diverse team. They have a lot of players that can come in off the bench and give you some quick offense. And I think one thing that made I heard a lot about, which I think was a big turning point, was just that three at the end of the third quarter that Poole made. Just the crowd got really into it, and then the Warriors turned it on in the fourth quarter. So
he has two of those, I think, in this series.
Yeah, he does.
A really deep three in one of the early games as well. So it seems to be a recipe for their success to have that. So
give it to him every time.
Exactly. So all right, I'll give Davey the next thoughts on this matchup.
It was a pretty ugly game, wasn't it? I think. I mean, you see the field goal percentages that wound up being good in the end, but I think it's because of the third quarter. It took a while. I think there was one point where Boston was like over 10 from 3. Ridiculous. But I can't remember all the points. Wiggins has really been so comfortable on the Warriors, and I'm really happy for him because I just think it's just one of those. It's like the guy in the band who just finds his place. Found his place. He's got a good role here. When he's a leader of a team, like he was in Minnesota, it was tougher. But here, it's part of the cog in a giant machine. You know, he's been very comfortable, and I think he's been a real rock for these guys. Like it's really cool to see that. I was just as surprised because as we saw, you know, the Celtics really did make a run. I thought this would be a close game throughout. I was honestly very surprised that it just fell apart. But that fourth quarter seems to be undoing like each team at various points of the series. But now I have no idea. I thought, okay, for like 3 games, I thought Boston totally had control of the series. And then now after these two, I'm like, I have no feel anymore. I don't have any idea. I think Boston should win Game 6. They've generally done very well in been better on the road, I would say. But the one thing about and I'm sorry I'm looking ahead like this, but I just think that the Warriors, once they get to a game that they don't need, and this is definitely it, Game 6, they will not put everything into this. And I do think I very much agree with you, Rob. But as far as Game 5, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm surprised that it just got away so fast. I was expecting a close fourth quarter.
I was too. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on this one and starting to look ahead?
No, I'll just add on Wiggins. This was an incredible game for him, and you know it looked like Steph Curry was really a lock for Finals MVP after that Game 4. Actually, after Game 4, I remember seeing that he actually had better odds to win Finals MVP than the Warriors actually did to win the championship outright. And I kind of was wondering, after this Game 5, maybe Andrew Wiggins was going to steal the MVP award for Steph Curry because he had a great performance in Game 4 as well, and he had it on top of this. And Steph, you know, we already, like you guys already said, 0 for 9 on 3. It's insane to have, you know, one of the best performances of your career in Game 4 and to follow it up with that. But Wiggins really stepped up. He's a free agent after this year. We'll see if he stays with the Warriors, if he goes and secures the bag with another team. But he was really great. And, yeah, the shot by Poole, I think that really changed all the momentum going into the fourth quarter. The Celtics were, you guys already said it, they were on fire in that third quarter. They were just draining 3 after 3 after 3. And it looked like they were going to go into the fourth quarter with the lead. But that shot by Poole really changed all the momentum. It got the crowd in San Francisco back into it. And the Warriors were pretty much able to handle their business from there. So I guess we'll see what happens in Game 6, but, you know, Wiggins really stepped up at a time when they needed him, and so did Poole, and so did Gary Payton, and now they're on the verge of yet another championship, Golden State.
Yeah, it's pretty astounding. I don't know. I didn't think it would slide that quickly, but I even talked to Davey before that game, and I really thought Golden State was going to win it, but I still kind of thought the Celtics would win Game 6 and 7. But now after watching Game 5, I'm not sure that they're going to win Game 7. I think Game 7's now become a coin flip. But for me, Game 6 is going to be interesting. But I kind of thought that after such an amazing game, it didn't surprise me, I guess, that he had a letdown. I guess how bad that game was maybe a surprise. But I didn't think he was going to put up 40 again. I just didn't think he was going to miss all of his three-pointers, right? So I think that he'll have a comeback game in this next one, but it won't be the 40-point one. And then the question is what happens in Game 7? Is he going to have that explosion again, or is he going to wilt and decide, at least for me, who's going to win Game 7? But yeah.
So, how much of a factor do you think is, there have been a lot of talk about the nagging injuries that he had throughout the series. Do you think that might have played a factor in Game 5?
Maybe. I don't know. It just, he had injuries that we thought before Game 4, and then he put that crazy performance out there, right? So it's like, I mean, that makes sense, right? But I think it's just fatigue. Like, he just outshot himself in the previous game. He just had nothing left in the tank for the next one. And, I mean, even at home. And I think maybe he knew that the rest of the team would pick him up because he kind of picked them up in the previous one. And so they kind of owed him one in some ways, right? And so, and they did. And, you know, I think they will win a championship if different people step up every night. I think it's pretty crazy that Iguodala gets so little playing time in this, you know, where in previous series, he's a pretty good defensive stopper for the most part, has, been impressive at times in the league, and, like, they don't even use him on this team. So it'll be interesting to see how the benches play out in these last two games as fatigue settles in on a long postseason. So,
hey, Robbie, I got to piggyback on something you said. I've been listening in the back of the cut. And, you know, about Steph Curry, I agree with what you said about, maybe he, shot himself out in the game before, but you also got to give Boston credit for the defense they played on him. They locked him down. They wasn't allowing him to get any space at all. So you got to give him some credit to, helping shut him down and not, get hot like he did the game before. Because I was watching, I'm a Steph Curry fan, and I was looking for him to go off again, and I was just watching how tightly they were playing him, and they had an excellent game plan. Just that Wiggins, in my opinion, to me, played the best game of the series so far in that game on both sides. Being able to play Tatum and putting the numbers that he did, and the rebounds, helping control the tempo when Boston did make that run and get the lead back. Because when I saw they were up so much, I figured it was going to be a blowout. But Boston, composed himself, came on in the second half. And Golden State was able to withstand that, and I think Wiggins, played a huge role in that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Except for the one part is I thought they played him pretty well in Game 4, and he still went off, right? I don't think they played him particularly badly in that game. I think the Celtics' defense has actually been pretty good, and that was what was kind of impressive by Golden State. In my mind, in the previous game, that he was able to go off even with decent defense. I guess it was better in the last game than it was in the previous one, but I just also thought that some of the shots that were going in before weren't. So, it's a combination of both. But I agree that the Celtics' defense is what saved them throughout these playoffs. And when their backs have been against the wall, their defense has shined in all these previous rounds. And they have a lot of experience being in elimination games already this postseason, which might help them in a Game 6 for sure. Tim, I'll get some of your thoughts looking forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great series. I definitely think the NBA wants Game 7, clearly. I mean, they love a Sunday night primetime Game 7. I do think the Warriors will actually close out in Boston. The reason I think that is just the Warriors have been a great road team really this whole run, and you can probably call it a dynasty at this point. They always win huge road games when it matters, and I think the Boston crowd is great, but I think the fact that the Warriors won the last game there and the Boston crowd was so brutal to them and Draymond might kind of come back to haunt them, because I don't think the Warriors will let their foot off the gas at all. I think they want to close it out in 6. I don't think they want to take a chance. They've lost.
I agree that they don't want to take a chance at all, because I feel like they will gain so much momentum if somehow, even if it's expected to win at home, they will still gain a lot of momentum from that victory.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Davey, what are some of your thoughts going forward?
It's great to see the series perspective. I was thinking, I just forgot what I was going to say. It was a really, really remarkable point that they forgot about it. But I've been a bit of concern here. Because as I mentioned, that's the point. I figured out what I was going to say. So Did you see the stat of the Warriors winning at least one road game in a series, and it's like the 950th, whatever it was, like some crazy number. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not but they've gone years and years without losing a road playoff game in a series. Winning at least one road playoff game in a series, and Game 4 was the latest example of that. That's an amazing run. That is an amazing run. I'm not sure. It may be a long time before we ever see that again. So that would probably lend to your all's point of them winning. However,
but they already won one, so they don't have to win two.
No. They only need to win they extend the streak just with that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Still impressive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I do think that this is like back from the wall. You got the home crowd. I do think the Celtics will win and they'll force a Game 7. And if they don't do all that, then I think they're gonna get a cult. You know what I'm saying? That tends to be a thing in the NBA, but we'll see. So we'll see. I mean, personally, I would love for the Warriors to close out in Game 6. That would be an incredible story. It's kind of like a mini comeback in a way. I truly did not think they had control of the series until Game 4. That's so interesting how that just all just came up and turned on its ear. But either way, I think we will get Game 7. The thing for me is I don't know. I think that.
Well, I also think that you were probably never going to pick Boston in the same way that Brian never wanted to pick Boston. You're a Lakers fan. He's a Knicks fan. Neither like Boston. So
it's a very interesting spot. And particularly when you're putting money on the game, like are you happy when they cover the spread?
It's a tough one. It's so strange to me that Tatum wears like Kobe's got a purple armband. I talked about it last week. It's so strange to see that on a Celtic player. I don't know how I feel about that. But obviously Kobe is like one of my all-time favorite players, but it's hard to watch like on a Celtic uniform, like I guess not on it, but adjacent to. So it's a interesting thing. I really hope Boston wins this one. I really would love it to go 7. Personally, I just think it's been such a great series so far. It's been close at times. I think it's interesting to see how the third quarters have played out across all of them, but I've ended up really liking this Boston team. They're really scrappy, and I don't often say that, and so and I like Golden State also. I think they've played well, but they've won, championships. I get that Wiggins hasn't or whatever, but I don't know. This Boston team's been like knocking on the door a bunch of different times, and then they finally like come together, and I don't know. If they win it with defense, I'm going to be really impressed, and that's kind of what if their defense could be intense in the next game, I think that they will win that game. If their defense lets them down and they get a shooting match with Golden State Warriors, I think that it's going to be difficult for them for sure. I'm going to go to Brian next. What are your final thoughts going forward on this series?
I actually agree with Tim. I think Golden State's going to close it out in Game 6. I think that stat Davey said about them winning a road game in every series, even though they've already won one this series, is still pretty remarkable. It just goes to show you this group really knows how to get it done on the road. And I was actually reading some of the quotes from some of the Golden State players after they won Game 5 last night, and Klay Thompson was like, "Oh yeah, this is the first time I've ever actually been excited to go to Boston." So I think they're kind of relaxed. I think. I do think the crowd in Boston, I think that definitely motivated them. Maybe maybe to this point where they want to clinch the title in front of Boston fans, just to get back at them for all the stuff they said about Draymond in Game 3. I'm sure that would be nice revenge for the Warriors. I just think they're going to close it out. I think they're going to get it done in Game 6. I know the NBA probably does want a Game 7, especially that primetime slot on Sunday night is very, very tempting. But I think Golden State gets it done in Game 6.
Yeah, Arun, what are your thoughts on Game 6? If there'll be a Game 7.
Before the series, I had Golden State winning in 6, so I guess I'll have to stick to it. But I think it's still going to be a toss-up probably in Game 6 and in Game 7 because the Celtics are already 3-0 in elimination games. They were down 3-2 to Milwaukee. They had a Game 7 at Miami when they blew Game 6 and they almost blew Game 7. I just think this Warriors team is better than the Heat team who was playing with an injured Tyler Hero and Milwaukee is playing without Chris Middleton. And I just want to say, Steph Curry's, he should win Finals MVP. Even if Wiggins had a good Game 5, Curry's still averaging 31 points per game, and Wiggins is averaging 18 points per game. And I think the standard for Wiggins is just much lower. Everyone was just commenting how Game 4, Wiggins had a great game. He only had 17 points. Granted, he had 15 rebounds. In this one, Game 5, Curry had a bad game, but it was 16 points. Just overall for the series, Curry should win Finals MVP if the Warriors go on to win.
It all depends, though, right? I mean, if Wiggins has like 30 and 10, and Steph has 15 and 2,
then Curry will still be averaging more points per game than.
I still think if that happens, then he gets 3 triple doubles in a row and is dominant and the reason they win the title.
Wiggins is not getting a triple double. Where are the assists for triple? 2 assists is a triple double.
No. I'm saying he gets the double.
He'll have to put up like 50 points, and Curry will have to put up like 10 points, and even then Curry will still be averaging more points per game. So I don't even think that's going to happen.
I just think. I think that you could, if he put a dominant performance together, there could. At least
right now in Vegas, you can place a bet that Andrew will win MVP, and you'll get 20 times your money. So.
Nice.
I think maybe you should place that bet, Robbie.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm picking the Celtics to win the series, so I'm not going to pick that bet. So I'm picking them to win Game 6 and 7.
Robbie, you had some skin in this scenario.
No, I had not bet on this game. So I'm
not the game, just Wiggins for MVP.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to bet on that either. But But I'm just saying that I can see a pathway that it could happen if what happens if they he outscores them in 6 but they lose and then outscores them in 7 and they win? Is there a scenario where if he beats them?
If Wiggins outscores Curry in both the games, it's not going to happen. That's not even going to happen, I don't think.
But yeah, okay. I'm just saying, if in that case, you'd want it to go 7.
Well, in games 1 through 4, Curry, it would still be more games that Curry's outscored Wiggins. It's like
that's true. But is it only points that they care about, or there's nothing about rebounds?
Well, that's also 3-point percentage. Curry shooting 41% from 3. Wiggins is shooting 25% from 3-point range.
That's fair. All right. So so everyone has Golden State winning except for me, right? It's just the question of 6 or 7?
Yeah.
I think you guys all, Davey, you think that.
I didn't actually give you a prediction.
Okay, what was your?
I don't know. I guess I would probably say Boston 7 if you asked me to make a prediction.
Oh, nice. So you'll join me in the Boston
I'll give you
7.
that. Yeah, I'll join you. I have still felt like they're the team. Just a lot more guys that can and James had some bad games too. Recent memory throughout the last couple of weeks. But what happens to Ian? That would be very, very tough day for Golden State. I'm not ruling that out. So I'm probably just gonna put it out there. And I'm wrong, I guess, but let's see. That's probably my
Arun, the winning team almost always wins the MVP, right? So would if Boston wins,
Only happened. There's only been one losing Finals MVP before in history. It was Jerry West.
Yeah, but players have received votes. So LeBron James did get, I think, 5 out of 14 votes in 2015. But Jerry West, when he won, it was before the Game 7 actually occurred. So that one doesn't even count because they had to vote before Game 7 actually happened. So yes, he was on the losing team, but they didn't know the result of the game.
They have to vote in this one before Game 7?
No, just back in 1970.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I'm just curious if there's a scenario where Boston wins this whole thing, but Steph Curry wins MVP. If there's a scenario where that happens, but I would be surprised. Is that even possible, Arun? You think?
It is possible, but if he played like he did in Game 5, or if he plays one more game like that, then it's probably not going to happen. But if he puts up another 40-point games,
if he gets 2 40-point games and loses both of them, let's say, yeah, that would be interesting. Anyway, so some fun things to watch. The 3 of you guys, Brian, Arun, and Tim, you guys all have Golden State going to Boston and winning, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that confident, but that's my prediction.
Same.
And Tim, you agree? So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not confident, but yes.
Yes. All right. Well, none of us are confident in our picks, so we've done a good job with the round table. But I'm going to let some of our guests go, and then we're going to switch over to some quick hockey talk as well. So I'm going to let Tim go first. Tim, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, it's just great to have a big crew again. I feel like it's been months, and I haven't seen Davey, I think, since the 2020 Olympics. So it's been like a year, I feel like, and it's been good to talk about a really exciting finals. Hopefully, we can do it again soon.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And one thing I didn't mention real quickly before we get too far is the timing of the game. So the next game, Game 6, is Thursday, the 16th at 9 p.m. All these games are on ABC, and if there is a Game 7, it's on Sunday at a much nicer 8 p.m. For us East Coast people. So, all right, sounds good. Well, Tim, I appreciate you joining us as always.
Have a good night.
And have a good one. And I will see you in September, but feel free to join CP3 and Brian next week if you want to recap these games as well.
Definitely. Have a good one.
All right, sounds good. All right, Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No. Hopefully it's a good series, whether it goes 6 or 7. It's been the last couple of games have been really good compared to the rest of the NBA playoffs, where it's just blowout after blowout. Hopefully it's a good series, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate your insight. Arun has been on the very first season of the Sports on the Hill podcast, so I appreciate you giving insight to many different NBA finals over the years. So it's been fun to cover it with you, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right, and so we're left with Brian here, CP3, and Davey. So we're going to switch gears to hockey. Brian, I'm going to let you say your thoughts on your Rangers team. And I will quickly say that I watched all those games, and I thought there was an incredible series. And I know we were very high on the Rangers in the last podcast. And things didn't turn out the way that we thought that they would. But Brian, any thoughts on the final couple of games for the Rangers?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely really disappointing, especially because they had a 2-0 lead in the series, a 2-0 lead in Game 3, and then they just pretty much all fell apart in those last 4 games against Tampa. 3.5, really, if you include the fact they had a 2-0 lead in Game 3. It really all just kind of fell apart for them. They couldn't score like a single even strength goal the rest of the playoffs. I don't know what it was. They just could not score on even strength. Tampa just really stepped up their game. They got timely goals, whatever they needed. They had an answer for almost every Ranger goal. I gotta say, I definitely don't like this Tampa Bay team, but you can see why they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups. They are a much more experienced team than this Rangers team, and it absolutely showed in this series. It's definitely disappointing to lose the series. That Game 6 was definitely frustrating. They get the tying goal from Petrano late, and then Stamkos scores almost right away to give Tampa the lead. And it just felt like all the air went out of the balloon from that moment. I don't really agree with them not playing Capo Caco in that 6th game either. I thought that was kind of a dumb decision by Gallant, the coach. The kids are what got them to this position, and I think to make a switch like that late, I think really, and to not even tell Caco about it, and to just like bench him like that, I didn't think was cool at all from Gallant, and I think that definitely played into the mindset of the team for sure, but definitely frustrating overall. But at the end of the day, I mean, this was a great run by the Rangers. They have nothing to be ashamed of. They were down 3-1 to the Penguins. It didn't look like they were even going to get to this point, honestly. They were down 3-1 to Pittsburgh. They come back. They win that series. They win Game 7 in overtime on the Panarin goal. That was amazing. That was great. And then the Carolina series, down 2-0 in that series, down 3-2 in that series, and then to dominate Game 6 and 7 and win Game 7 in Carolina. the way they did, I'm not going to forget this run for a really long time. Really, it was a special, great time to be a Rangers fan again. After a couple of really down years for the team, it almost feels like they're ahead of schedule. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I would have liked to have had them in the Stanley Cup Finals for sure, but I still a lot to be proud of at the end of the day. Thank you all for the support. I really appreciate that. That was really nice of you guys to support the Rangers like that, because I know the Caps and the Rangers don't necessarily get along.
I wouldn't do it, but, I kind of felt like, we're supportive of the Capitals on their big run that got us to the Cup.
Appreciate that.
I wanted to pay that back to you. I don't usually root for the Rangers.
I'm sorry,
Carol
Brian,
can attest to that.
But
I was rooting for them in this playoff run, especially for beating Pittsburgh. It was very simple. Once they did that, I felt like I owed them everything. So I was going to root for them until they lose. But Carol's shaking his head.
I'm sorry, man. I just couldn't do it, man. I just can't say let's go. See, I can't even say it, man. I can't.
Yeah, Liz got mad at me every time I said it at our house. She's like, that just sounds wrong.
I
was like, no, it's just like the whole time you've always hated them. I was like, I know, but I'm rooting for them. It's just weird.
Just can't do it.
Yeah, I understand, Carol. It was difficult, but I did it for our friend Brian. So,
but it wasn't just you. There was a lot of people who don't normally like the Rangers that were very supportive during this playoff run, which I really appreciate. That was nice. So I appreciate that a lot. Hopefully they're back next year. I'm, like I said, very disappointed to not be in the Stanley Cup Finals, especially after having a 2-0 lead in that series. But Tampa's the better team. They're going for 3 in a row. I really hope Colorado beats them, honestly, but they are a very experienced, very good team, and we'll see if they get that three-peat. But great run for the Rangers. Really nothing to be ashamed of, and I'm proud of them at the end of the day for what they did this season.
For sure. Well, I know that we kept you longer than we thought, so I'm going to let you go, Brian. But if anyone wants to check out your podcast, I will link all the information in the chat. Also, you go to sportsothp.com, click our Team Sports OTHP link. It's got Brian's bio with all of that information that I just posted from the Stream Elements link right there on my website. But also, you can click the Podcast Partners button and get to all of his latest podcasts and stuff like that. Upon further review with Brian Brennan. But Brian, thank you for helping us break down the NBA, and I'm sure you'll be on with Carol next week to break down the rest of the finals.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to add some little parting shots. I hope the Rangers make Chris Kreider the captain next season. I think he deserves it. He had a great run through the playoffs. I hope they make him the captain. Yankees are on fire. They just won again tonight. They're 45-16 on the season now. 29 games over 500. So even without the Rangers, I'm in a good place sports-wise right now because this team's been great all season. And I didn't really get a chance to talk about soccer, but a great day for the MLS today, getting their media rights deal done with Apple Plus. I'm really excited for that. I think that's going to really help.
We didn't talk about it.
I really think that's going to really help grow the league. A lot of people are kind of annoyed about it, but I think having a centralized location like this for the league is going to be a really good thing. No blackout restrictions, which I think is huge. You can watch every game on Apple TV. I think that's great. I think it's going to be great.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm happy. I actually kind of like when hockey moved to ESPN Plus because I really like the app for it. And
but this is even different. There's going to be no blackouts at all. So
no, I know this is even better. So I'm just saying, they've proven the market works. If you can centralize it. And,
definitely.
So I'm happy that they get a chance to do that. Well, thank you, Brian, for letting everyone know all the latest baseball news and hockey news and basketball and soccer. So we broke down 4 different sports. I appreciate you as always, Brian, and I look forward to you co-hosting with Carol all summer long. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great rest of your night, guys. Have a great trip, Robbie. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
All right, Brian, take it easy.
See you guys. See you, man.
All right, Davey, I want to get your take away on the Tampa Bay versus the Rangers series before we move into the Cup final.
I mirror a lot of Brian's points. What a great run for the Rangers. Like an incredible show of being a year ahead of schedule, really what it is. But I think, what was it, game 5? When they had that 2-0 lead, and then it just looked like they're clinging on for dear life in the third period. trying to figure out who that was, but that I felt like was the moment where I'm like, yeah, they maybe they really are in over their head at the end, but still, it was a really good fight, and I thought that going against a two-time defending champion like two-time defending cup champion like the Lightning was an incredible fight. You really can't count on them. Yeah, surely the ending was disappointing, but it's not surprising. I mean, these guys are loaded offensively. So much good talent. Vasilevsky, when he's on, he can be amazing. Plenty of him.
I just can't believe they still have the energy in their tank after 3 deep runs like this. I just thought that it would run out at some point, but really at the end of that series with New York, it literally looked like New York was the team that was running out of fuel in their tank, and it's just been kind of impressive to see.
I think that had a lot to do with it. Like they've been through these kind of series, and this might be the first real run through a series truly. Granted, they did have those 7 against Carolina, but maybe after like a couple of series. I don't know. I mean, it's a good tough point. Like a lot of people did not think Tampa Bay was going to get this far. A lot of them. They were not favored in many of these series. But when they played Florida.
No, I don't. I think Florida was favored, and the Rangers were both favored in both of those series. So, and even in some way, the Toronto series.
That's only because they were in the wild card spot that they had them as a so-called underdog. But Tampa has the, they know how to win. They built the win. But they definitely. The Rangers, like I said, I think the youth, and them, the chemistry not being quite there with Tampa having the experience factor and, knowing how to, push it on and, turn it on and flip it on when they need to. I don't want to, I'm already going to go on a record. I don't want Tampa to win 3. I'm rooting for Colorado. I think Colorado was built to win. And I think they're definitely going to give Tampa a good test in the finals. Are they going to be able to, do it? I'm hoping. But depending on, like you say, Tampa looked like they were out of it at the beginning of the New York series. And then at the end of it, they had New York looking like they were out of it. So do they still have that push to, get to the mountaintop again? I'm not going to say they don't, but I'm hoping Colorado's one is going to be able to outdo their want to get that 3-peat.
I think to your point, Colorado's going to be a player. They are significantly really bad. The only real flaw they have is their goaltending, which is always changing. But I'm very curious to see how this matches up with it. That's also offensively in Tampa Bay. So, Robbie, if you were to, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it's an exciting series, but it's what I'm getting at. I probably would pick Colorado, but there's something to be said about experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious about Carol's take on rooting for Andre Burakovsky again. As somebody who I was a big fan of.
The only thing that causes me issues that Andre will possibly get a second ring. And Ovi only has 1, but I can suck that up if Tampa doesn't win 3. I would rather him get a second ring than Tampa get a 3rd in a row. So I'll take that one for the team.
Yeah, interesting. It's. I'm trying to look at it here. If the Avalanche win. It's gonna be crazy. I'm super excited. I was looking at a picture earlier of Andre Burakovsky, and what was in the background of him? It was Ovi holding the cup on the press conference. I was like, what a cool shot that was. I saw it was tweeted earlier today. I was like, that's got to be a pump-up moment for him that he can turn around and see his friend, hoisting the cup, and he's got to be so excited to get to have a chance to do it again. And I hope for so much success for him and for that team. I just it'll be really interesting to see what happens next. But I'm picking Colorado, but it's going to be a tough a tough matchup for sure. So the history, Tampa Bay, it's just so strange. I mean, dynasty is something that isn't talked about in hockey very often. Teams have repeated, but it hasn't been in our time as being a hockey fan where we've seen more than that. I mean, I can't speak for Carol, but I don't think you were a fan of the Islanders, way back when. But we haven't really seen even what I would consider the closest thing to a dynasty is the Detroit team that won back-to-back in the 90s, the late 90s, where they swept 2 cups in a row, right? I mean, that is a dynasty in my mind, right? Because it's just like that's so dominant performance. But other teams have done it twice. But this would be a really special thing to do it 3 times. It hasn't happened in a very long time. Davey, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, that's why my favorite thing about the series is just that the potential history that could be made with this team. And a lot of the same players are still on the team from their first cup run, or the first of this cup run. They did make cup. I mean, it's very interesting to see how this is going to go. And Colorado's passed so many tests so far leading into the series. It's a very exciting thing to watch. I'm not the greatest with his names, but you talk about guys like Dave McKinnon and all the people in that offense. It's just a very exciting thing to watch. So this will be really good. There's going to be, and if you want to talk about it from a gambling perspective, there will be incredible value on Tampa Bay every single game because it would appear from my vantage point they're going to be favored in the odds will definitely be favored in the 2 home games. But I'm curious as to what the odds are going to be when they get to game 3, and I wonder where the series will be. It's a very tough one to predict. I don't know. My instinct is saying Tampa Bay because that experience is going to play a huge factor on this level when you get to the final. I don't know. I don't think Tampa's really played this kind of offense yet. This kind of speed. I'm wondering how they'll keep up with it. I mean.
Yeah, they've played such different teams so far in this playoffs than the one that they're about to face. So here's why I think you're right, and I think Tampa Bay might win this series too. I've been going back and forth a lot, but it's just really interesting. The Avalanche haven't named their starting goaltender yet.
Yeah, that tracks though, right? It really does.
And they haven't done this all season where they just decide with a text message right before, and that's what they've done all year, and it's worked up to this point. But I would rather go into a finals know who my starting goaltender is than not, right? Because if you just steal one game on the road and they're starting in Detroit, right? Or not Detroit, in Colorado. So for me, if they just take one of those 2 games, that changes the whole series. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Excuse me. It's definitely going to be an interesting series. I haven't watched Colorado closely. I've seen what they're able to do, score. They're fast, they're heavy. Like you said, the only intangible is the goaltending. You can just go by feel, if you got to go who you feel will give you the best chance to win. And, that's what the coaches decided to do. So, I mean, I'm really not.
Well, they just score in bunches. They just what I like to call avalanche of goals, right? They just score these bunches of 3, and they're blah, right there. And teams sometimes struggle to score 3 goals in a whole game in the playoffs historically, right? Yeah. But they could just do it in a moment, in a period, in a time, and it could be in a 6-minute stretch. And I mean, that series we haven't really talked about it. We talked about it last week a little bit, but they just destroyed. It was surprising. I thought that series would be much closer with Edmonton, and they swept them.
Edmonton's goaltending is extremely shaky as well. So I think that the ability to score in bunches will not come as easily against Tampa Bay.
But they've done it in all the rounds. So it wasn't just a Edmonton thing. It's something that they've been consistent.
See, that's going to be the key with Tampa's experience. See, what Colorado does is they jump on you and they take advantage because they know once they score, especially in the playoffs, that's going to make the other team okay, we got to answer. And then by them continuing to keep their foot on the gas and being over aggressive, they're forcing mistakes because they know they're pressing. They're going to try to get something going, and they jump on it. And they have great players that are accurate when they shoot, And when they get the opportunity, they take advantage of it. So that's going to be the key. And I think that's going to be the X factor with the experience for Tampa is they know how to answer when another team, even if they do get a 3-goal lead. I think that Tampa's built that they.
I think this is potentially be a really high-scoring series, though, right? Like, I mean, because that's the way that the Avalanche want to play. And, like, if you just give a team with very poor defense and goaltending to Tampa Bay, they can put up some goals, too. So, like, it's just going to be interesting to see who can lock down defensively, if that's even possible. And that's why I think in a high offensive game, I'd rather go with the goalie that I know who's been MVP caliber and can steal a couple of games. I think that could become the difference in the series. But it's going to be tight either way. I think it could be very high scoring. But when we always predict high scoring, that it's going to become like a 2-1 thing, right? So who knows? It's hockey. It's all fluky. You can get high goaltenders at any times. But Davey, any final thoughts on this cup matchup before I talked about the schedule for the games?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is going to be I agree with everything we both have said. This is going to be a great series. I mean, that's for who I'm rooting for. Probably Tampa Bay, but I'm not going to really be that disappointed if Colorado wins it. This will be their first cup title in 19 years. That's an incredibly long time, especially for a franchise that you think is always good, that they're always a playoff contender. They hadn't been for a while, though. They had some really lean years, so I think no matter who wins the series, it's going to be a really fun storyline. And I personally just hope it goes 6 games or more. And it really looks like it's set up to do that. Like you said, there are deficiencies both ways. And you really could see you just getting away with a game. And then you could see one game where it just goes back and forth and nobody can hold the other down. I can see this being an incredible series.
For sure. Carol, any other takeaways before I get into the schedule?
No, I'm just anxious to see how it turns out. Like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight, so I'm gonna watch just watch from the hockey fan perspective and see what happens. But
you're not gonna root for either
I'm
one of
rooting
them?
for Colorado, but
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't win, it's really nothing. I'm not gonna be pissed off about it.
Some people are like, I can't have them go 3 or whatever, really mad, and I don't feel that way.
I mean, if they do it, they deserve it, especially with the shortened seasons and the timetable they've done it in. I just don't want to
all
give
the
them
COVID stuff.
Yeah.
They've definitely gone through a lot of adversity.
I just don't want to give them credit if they do it. That's all. So I'd rather they not do it because then I have to give them credit.
Right, exactly. I appreciate that. So the upcoming schedule, I love hockey because they do all the games at 8 o'clock, unlike basketball. They do them all at 9 o'clock, which is very frustrating from an East Coast perspective. I get from Davey, might like it a little bit later in California, but from the East Coast perspective, 9 o'clock starts are late. It's rough because it's over midnight. The games go to overtime, 1 o'clock. It gets pretty late here for sure. The first 2 games, Wednesday, June 15th. At 8 o'clock. So that's going to be tomorrow on ABC. And then the next game, they have a couple of nights off. And that game the first 2 are in Colorado. And so the second game will be at 8 o'clock. I do think it's a huge advantage for Colorado playing at altitude, though, for those first 2 games. So it'll be interesting to see how these matchups go. The second game is Saturday, also at 8 o'clock, which is a really brilliant primetime spot. And they were very smart to schedule this because that way they could, in theory, have game 6, before, and then game 7 afterwards, and ABC gets all of them, right? So, ABC did a good job of getting all these games. So that's pretty cool for both the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. So those are going to be interesting. And then Monday, game 3 is 8 o'clock. So, Carol, you're going to be coming on an hour into a pivotal game 3, the first game in Tampa Bay. So that's going to be a really fun show. I'm kind of sad that, I'm not upset I'll be on vacation, but I'm sad that I'll miss that because I think that'll be a fun show for you to do, Carol, to talk about a live game between these 2 teams next week. And also recap the first 2 games as well. But, Carol, any thoughts about doing a live watch along next Monday?
I'll give, scoring updates. And, if anything, crazy happens, they get 3 goals in 5 minutes or something, I'll definitely, keep it updated. But, definitely going to try to keep the show quick moving and short and sweet.
Nice. I appreciate that. won't have as many guests next week as you had this week for sure. Yeah, it's looking good. Davey, any thoughts on the schedule or any final thoughts before we let you go?
I didn't go off the top, but I think the schedule is pretty solid. I mean, I thought they would be a every other day kind of schedule. I thought it was very unusual that they would not know the schedule until the series were over. I did not realize that they had that kind of flexibility. I do not know if that's new, but it is interesting.
Well, it might have changed because ABC owns the rights to both, so they may need to do that to be able to schedule them, around each other. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, what a great week that's going to be for them. That's all ABC. I hope you don't want to watch anything else on ABC that week, man.
Right, exactly. Well, that's why they ended all their shows already, so that they were smart. They were like, they've already done their season finales and stuff like that, so, which is smart. But awesome. Well, Davey, I'll do your command in chat one more time, but give a little, let our listeners that are on the audio side of it know what you do on your show and any final thoughts before we let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eva, welcome in. It's good to see you. Our fellow sports fan friend, also a great pianist. I host a show where I interview other content creators. So I put Robbie on. And it tends to gravitate toward musicians, but it's not exclusive to that category. We're happy to have anybody which will on. And in between those interview shows, we do other things like video games. We have food tastings. Get new ideas all the time. I've been had a really good suggestion to do an Oreo tasting stream, and I think that's a terrific idea. So, well, you can catch us on Saturday. We're going to be part of a community event called Dinosaur Stream Fest, organized by Danielle, our amazing musician. And she organized this community event called Dinosaur Stream Fest. So it's a stream fest where it's not like a specific category, like gamers or musicians. It's kind of a mix of both. And Ryan will be on it too. So both of us will be representing as part of Dinosaur Stream Fest on Saturday. It really fun. I hope you all can be there to support. If you're right.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly right. Sandwich cookie. He even says it on the package.
Yep. It's true. It's very on brand for Davey eating a sandwich. So, yes, for sure. I appreciate you for joining us. I'm happy that we were able to get you on with our move to Tuesday, and I always enjoy being on your show and having you on whether we talk Olympics or NBA Finals, all the biggest events around the world. So I appreciate it, and we'll definitely do a collab when I come back in the fall for sure. And I hope that you have a wonderful summer, and I'm sure I will see you around the Twitch sphere. And have a great night.
And have a great trip, Robbie. We're so happy for you, and kudos to you for having a good vacation.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll chat with you soon, David. All right, Carol, we're going to get into some Mystics talk. We'll just switch up our, that's why I have a screen for it. There it is. Let people know what's happening in the world of the Mystics over the last week.
Yeah, it was the 2-1 week. They were sitting at 9-6 after the victory tonight. They're at 10-6 now, still third in the East. They're 5-5 in their last 10. First game of the week was an 84-82 win over the Chicago Sky. Ariel Atkins had 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal. Candace Parker was held in check, if you want to say that. 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Mystics were up by 5 at half. Then they got outscored by 7 in the third, but they held up in the fourth quarter by outscoring. In the fourth quarter, 25-15 to hold on to the lead. And earn the victory. If you recall, last game that they played against Chicago, Candace Parker had a triple-double on them, and they won, I believe, by 10. So it was another scrappy game, but they were able to prevail and win by 2. Next game was at Minnesota. They pretty much blew them out from the jump. It was a 76-59 victory. Maisha Hines-Allen had a season-high 17 points, added 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Jessica Shepard had 5 points, 15 rebounds, and 1 assist from Minnesota. They had a 11-point lead at half and didn't look back. They held Minnesota to 31 points combined in the second half. And the last game of the week, which was Sunday, I believe, to the Phoenix Mercury of last week, that is, but Phoenix Mercury was a 99-90 overtime loss. Maisha Hines-Allen followed up with that season-high performance with another great performance, putting up a double-double and improving on her season high. She scored 18 with 10 points, 10 points, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Skylar Diggins-Smith fueled Phoenix. She had 27 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. They led by 7 after 1. Then they were down by 1 at half, and it was a neck and neck going into the overtime, and they were outscored in the overtime. They were held to 5 points. They gave up 14 and took the loss 99-90. And the game tonight.
I have tonight's stats.
All right, go right ahead, Robin.
There we go. That's why we're a team, bud. So the Mystics in the first quarter outshot the Mercury 21-19. In the second, they outscored them 23-15. In the third, outscored them 21-17, and in the fourth, outscored them 18-14 for end up being a dominating 83-65 win with DeShields being the leading scorer for the Mercury, and it looks like it was Austin. Is it Sharika Austin? No, Shakira Austin. Sorry. And she had 16 points, and Atkins had 13. Clark had 11. Deladon had 7 and 3 rebounds, and then Austin had, I didn't even see this, had 10 rebounds in that game as well. So, and Williams had 10 points off the bench. So just a pretty solid win. So they were able to come back and, after losing to Phoenix, they have both these games at home, actually. So it was a sort of a home stand 2-game set against Phoenix. And upcoming games are at New York at 7. And then Sunday, Connecticut, it's a 2 o'clock game. That's another home game. So it's a Sunday afternoon game if you guys want to go check them out at home. People are raving about that stadium. They really seem to like it. And a lot of famous people are actually at the games lately. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter. So you should go check them out. The Mystics, they've been up and down, but they won 3 out of their last 4. Again, at New York at 7. And then the Connecticut Sun is that home game on Sunday. So Carol will break those 2 next week. Carol, any thoughts on the win tonight?
Like you said, it was impressive to see them, bounce back after the overtime loss and, have a, dominating performance against them. They're still currently in 3rd. They started out strong. They fell to 4th place, but other teams are playing well also. So they just have to continue to play well, and hopefully Elena Deladon will be back soon. She's, I think it's I don't know if it's a knee or ankle. It was something that she has a lingering injury. It might even be a shoulder. I can't even remember, but she's been playing off and on, and other players have been stepping up. But definitely need her leadership out there on the court for them to be successful.
For sure. Any thoughts on the upcoming schedule?
Since they started out the week good with this win tonight. You said they got New York.
New York, they lost 2 on Friday, June the 3rd, in a close game, 74-70. So I know that they're going to want a rematch because that game was in Washington.
Yeah, they definitely looking to, get back from that loss. I think that was, when they had 2 losses. That was one of them a couple weeks ago. And then facing Chicago again. They've been playing them tough. Like I said, Candace Parker had a triple-double the last game, and she had 19.
No, they're playing Connecticut for the second game.
Connecticut? Oh, yeah, Connecticut Sky. Connecticut Sun. I keep them confused.
Yeah. They also lost to Connecticut 79-71 back on May 28th. So it's 2 opportunities to avenge losses in these 2 games.
Yeah, so, hopefully they could continue to success they starting the week out with, and hopefully can go 3-0 and move up some position in the East because it's still close, and they're not too far out of first place. I think it's only like maybe 2 games or a game and a half. I'm not even sure after tonight's results, but yeah, they're definitely in a position where they can get in position to make the playoffs and see if they can duplicate that 2019 run.
For sure. Eve, like the big hockey fan, is talking to me in chat. I'm so still torn on that series that Colorado won and Tampa Bay. I understand. I want to pick Colorado because I want them to win. I just feel like Tampa Bay has just been so good. I don't know. Carol, who did you pick one in the I don't even remember if you picked.
Yeah, I'm going with Colorado. But
you're rooting for them, but you think they're going to win?
I think with the run that they went on, the way they've been playing, shutting down Edmonton like they did, I think they got the offensive. They faced a tough offensive opponent with Edmonton and pretty much held them down. Now they got the experience factor, so I think that this could be their year to get the cup. I know Tampa's favorite. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they did find a way to win 3, but I'm rooting for Colorado. I don't think they have a.
I think Colorado is favored in this.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just because of where they fell, President's Trophy wise, and just because Tampa came in as the wild card, it's the same way the Capitals came in. They
That's
were
true.
top, and Vegas was playing so well, and they had Vegas as the favorite. So
I think these first 2 games tell you everything. I think if Colorado can play well at home and have that atmosphere, both in pressure and in atmospheric pressure, affect them. If they can win the first 2, I think Colorado wins the series. But if Tampa Bay can go in there and sneak and win one of these 2, I think Tampa Bay will ultimately win it, maybe in 7. So.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Tampa smells blood. They definitely want to go for the jugular to get that 3rd title secured and get some rest. Because like you said, they've been playing a lot of hockey these last 3 years. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting series. And on a baseball note, almost had a no-hitter. Miles Malakas of St. Louis took a no-hitter into the 9th. And unfortunately, with 2 outs in the 9th, he gave up the no-hitter, but he tossed a 1-hitter and against the Pirates, and they still won. But they almost had a no-hitter. But yeah, that would have been cool, especially since it's not against us.
Yeah, Davies and Eflak are making some good points. Davey in chat was saying it's a really good speed versus speed matchup, and they have people that can make sick passes on the ice. And Ryan, the Eflak guy, said that he thinks that Kucherov will be the best player on the ice, but Colorado will win with their depth, which, I think that's all very logical. But, they have 4 really good lines. So I think that could wear them down. But it'll be an exciting series. I'm kind of sad that I don't get to break it down with you, Carol. I'll definitely be watching it. I definitely will be chatting with you through Messenger, but I know that you guys will get it covered. You and Brian will talk about it, I'm sure, next week and talk some NBA and some baseball as well. Yeah, people on my Twitch channel are also on Facebook.com/SportsOTHP. They'll have to go over to Carol's Facebook page or his Twitch channel, which I'll give a shout out here as well. You can check that out on his channel as well.
I still ain't know nothing about it. Still got to figure that stuff out, bro.
I know. He's not active in chat over there. So, but if you want to watch it, it's a good place to watch it. I'll put it that way. And but yeah, I mean, Carol, it's been fun. I can't believe we're 274 down. I think we're already in double digits now in this here season 7. So this is episode 10, I believe, now of season 7. It's been fun. I appreciate you and Brian and the rest of the team taking over for the next 3 months and get some time at the pool and hanging out with the wife, and we've got a lot of trips. But if people want to keep up with me, definitely check us out on social media. I'll be making movies. I'll be doing lots of content. I'm sure I'll also be on the page making posts every once in a while and updating our website, sportsothp.com, with all of Carol's great videos and content as well. But Carol, any final thoughts before this is the last time we do a show for a bit?
Quick, I guess we might as well touch on all the sports. Commanders news. I know everybody's seeing that Terry McLaurin hasn't reported to the mandatory off-season workout this weekend. And a lot of folks are upset, thinking that he's going to, he's not going to sign, he's going to hold out. Yeah, he's going to get traded, all this and that, because they drafted a wide receiver in the first round. Just remember last year, John Allen didn't sign his extension till like right before training camp. Ron Rivera came out today and said, they're making progress. You've seen reports saying they're far apart and yada, yada, yada. You have to remember the wide receiver market blew up this offseason and nobody expected. You got folks like Christian Kirk making $22 million a year, who's really, had flashes but hasn't done anything consistently. And then you had a likes of Terry McLaurin that's had 8 different quarterbacks but still averaging over 1,000 yards receiving the season 2 years back to back. So it's there's a lot of things to be considered, especially with the cap situation, with them picking up Wentz. They got the relief from Landon Collins' contract on the 1st of June, so that's $11 million that got added to the books. So they're about $18 million over the cap right now. The way it's looking, he's going to be scheduled to make between $20 million and $24 million a year. They're probably trying to figure out the guaranteed money, which helps with the cap because then it doesn't affect your salary cap. The cash doesn't count against the cap, that is. So they say if he gets a 10-year, $200 million contract and they give him $80 million guaranteed, so that'll be a 10-year, $120 million contract. So it'll be $12 million a year as opposed to $20 million a year when you give the money guaranteed up front for the folks that don't know or understand the way that works. So be patient. You got 6 weeks till training camp. Coaches.
Do you want to address the fact that one of our coaches no longer has Twitter anymore?
I mean, I spoke about it a little bit. Honestly, I don't feel like my opinion is he made a tweet on Twitter. He wasn't representing the organization. He was representing as a private citizen. They asked him a question at the OTAs and it addressed it. So that's how the organization got involved in it. And that's how he was able to get fined because they asked him a question. My personal opinion, just because he has an opinion that I don't agree with, it doesn't make him racist. It doesn't make him whatever. It's just his opinion. And I don't know where this sentiment comes from that we're all supposed to agree and all supposed to feel the same way. And if somebody says something that you don't agree with, oh, they're racist, oh, they're this, oh, they're that, they need to be fired, they need to be canceled. No. We're human beings. We have different opinions from different experiences and different point of views. Do I agree with what he said? No. But that's his right to say that from his private account on a social media platform. So, I mean, everything else, y'all can, yell, cuss and fuss, he's racist, and, oh, what about Black Lives? You're getting too complicated. This is about football. He did something on his personal account. People didn't like it. The fine, cool, they get into the Capitol Police. To me, it was all politics. It's to appease the fan base and appease the people that want to be offended and butthurt because he had an opinion that they don't like or he said some words that hurt their feelings. The society's become soft. Now, if somebody's saying something that you don't even know that has no impact on your life, and it hurts your feelings to the fact where you got to feel they need to be fired because they said something that is inappropriate and you find offensive, take a step back and look at yourself in the mirror, because I guarantee you on your way to work, you done cussed out so many different people, called them so many different slurs or stereotypes, and because you didn't tweet it out, don't make it right. You have your opinion. You're free able to say that. He should be able to free to say his opinion. And that's all I'm going to say about it on this show.
For sure. All right. Well, I think we've done enough. I have a friend who's doing an 8-hour stream, and I think I want to ironically rate him at the very end of his crazy long stream. I think that would be a fun way to end the night. But, Carol, we've had a great show tonight, so I won't do like a post show that I sometimes do here live on Twitch. I'll just rate over. But any final thoughts, Carol, before we go?
No, as always, appreciate y'all checking us out, tuning in as always. Check out the website, sportsothb.com, for the apparel, for the podcast partners, for all the shows, highlight videos, and when Robbie gets a chance to update it with him and jet-setting kids has already been on a plane more than me in the last 10 years probably. And he'll update it when he gets the chance, and just appreciate y'all. As always, tune in next week. You're in the market for a new or used vehicle, come on down to Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. New credit, no credit, low credit. Just give me a chance to earn your business and get that deal done for you, because that's what I do. Always check out At the Bar Radio every Sunday. If you checked out the show this past week, we had a gun trainer. Excuse me. We discussed had the gun debate with someone in the industry. She was telling us about personal safety and the classes that she does and concealed weapons permits and everything. So make sure you check us out. We always talking some cutting edge stuff, bringing you the best entertainment news, independent music, sports, politics, whatever you want. We got it covered. And as always, I'm in my feed with I'm doing a little renegade kick. He down in Houston doing big things, making some connections, getting some things lined up. We're in the works for a new video. We got some other stuff lined up. So be on the lookout. As always, DC Sports without the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CP3 and RobbieG, we out. Catch you next time.
Recording stopped.
Money. I love that money.
Lucas.
Money. You don't really want to play. Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. It's money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't want to be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. Money, make you shut him off. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say, stay up out of my way. Cause money, make you shut him off. Keep playing with these goonies, boy, I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they might seem surprised. This is homicide. We just multiply. We been on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money's what I'm talking about. Day in my life, take me a different route. And use all my case, niggas on my face. You can get it erased, what you talking about? Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't want to be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm balling, I'm winning, I'm feeling like Robert to Horry. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign, so independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead and let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii. All day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, man. And you can never, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you playing the game, then you play by the rules. Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money is what I'm talking about.
Crank it up, Pedro.
I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. But I dish it like I give it and go. Counting money while I chill at the stove. How I deliver, I've been at the dough. It's up to you how business will go. That 36 I get for the low. Count it up, no feelings will show. Spend so much, gotta get it some more. When they hands out, I just give them a no. How they always talk about me, but a nigga stand out. Watch out how you really walk up to me, that's a man down. All these niggas got these drums with them like a band now. I've been doing what I want, that's what you can't doubt. I've been just feeling myself. Do I just really need help? I got my weight up. I be just telling myself I got love for all of my dogs. I take a pay cut. Some niggas really gon' ride. Some niggas really gon' slide. So go say a prayer. We ain't never gotta slap five. Nigga, just pay your tithes and call me the mayor. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in her feelings, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweat on my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. They been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past.
Live from the lab. Many can copy us, but none can duplicate us. DJ Jules.
Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know. And I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same. And I know it's gonna be disco. Take me to a place where everybody learns, where everybody sees, where everybody shows their love. I didn't think so, you know. I take a promise, I give it some love, I make a wish upon a star. You know you gotta get it right. You know you gotta get it right. Ooh. Every little thing counts now. Every little bitty thing. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, and I'm here, and you know it. It's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. It'd be so cool just to celebrate all the love and not the hate. It's going down. It's gotta stop. We've had enough. Why can't we just live together? Peace, love, and harmony is what this world needs forever. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, I know.